Thank you for coming out. My name's Scott Ludlam. I'm an Australian Greens Senator for WA for another couple of hours. And my colleague, Senator Rachel Siewert, our whip, and Giz Watson, former MLC in this building and one of our national co-conveners. I might do the first part of this a little bit formally, and then we can just freewheel, and we're happy to take questions. So, recently, as about a week ago or so, it was brought to my attention that I hold dual citizenship nationality of Australia and New Zealand. Under Section 44 of the Constitution, that makes me ineligible to hold elected office in the Federal Parliament. I apologise unreservedly for this. This is an oversight that was avoidable, and it's something that I should have fixed up in 2006 when I first nominated. I've got no wish to draw out legal uncertainty or create any kind of lengthy dispute, particularly when that section of the Constitution is so clear. So I'm resigning as a Senator for Western Australia and co-deputy leader of the Australian Greens effective today. Just by way of background, I was born in New Zealand in Palmerston North, left when I was 3 years old, and settled in Australia not that long before my 9th birthday. And I was naturalised in my mid-teens, and at that point I thought you leave New Zealand citizenship behind. And obviously that's an avoidable oversight 10 years ago. That's something that's entirely my responsibility. It wasn't the way that I was hoping to go out, obviously. There's an enormous amount of work left undone. I recently returned from New York, where the United Nations passed a ban, putting nuclear weapons on the same legal footing as chemical and biological weapons. That was the kind of work that I was hoping to be able to take back into Parliament when we resume in August. There's also an idiot proposal on the wires today about banning certain forms of mathematics and making all of our communications less safe. I've really loved working in the communications space, and that's one of those things that now is going to be in the hands of others. I'm really going to miss my colleagues, Rach in particular, and others, mentors and friends who've been such an important part of my life and work in the 9 or so years that I've been one of your federal parliamentarians. I'm obviously
apologies, we've lost that link from Perth. We'll try and bring that back to you, but you just see there that the Greens Senator and Deputy Leader of the Greens has announced his resignation. We'll just see if that link re-establishes itself, but in the meantime, just to reiterate...
In politics and in grassroots organising and activism. I will find some other way of stirring up trouble. I've had a pretty good run, considering where I started from all that time ago. And we're happy to take questions. But firstly, I might just ask if Rach, if you just want to speak through the process as we understand it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm also happy to answer questions about the process as far as we know it. As Scott's just outlined, he's resigning as of today. We expect that what will happen is the Senate will send this to the Court of Disputed Returns and they will make a decision, perhaps leading to, and most likely leading to, a countback. That process we expect will take a bit of time. However, given that we obviously are not challenging this, unlike in some most recent incidences, we're expecting that will probably expedite the process through the Court of Disputed Returns.
Just to clarify, sorry, have you been ineligible for the entire 9 years that you've been Senator?
Can I just say our advice is this, however, will only pertain to this Parliament. The 2016 parliamentary process is what we understand at the moment.
Not bringing this to your attention.
Yeah, we found out, if I'd known, obviously, I would have... Oh, I beg your pardon. If I'd known, I'd have dealt with it way before. But yes, it was brought to our attention about a week ago while I was still overseas by someone who'd done the digging for whatever reason. It took a couple of days to confirm with the New Zealand High Commission that was the case, and then I flew home a couple of days early from my trip. And since then, we've basically had 48 hours or so to just do due diligence, make sure that our understanding of the legal situation is clear, make sure my staff entitlements are taken care of, that kind of thing. But yeah, this is the end of the line as of this afternoon.
So do you feel like you had to resign?
Well, I mean, I could have dug my heels in, I guess. It creates a messy and protracted dispute. That section of the Constitution is crystal clear, and it has been tested before by others. And it's not something that I particularly want to put myself, my staff, or my party through. I figure this is probably a cleaner way just to make a break.
Was it ever in your head that this could be the case?
Absolutely not. No, and that's
That it wasn't?
you could call it a surprise if you like. I mean, it's a ridiculous oversight. It's something that I should have taken care of in 2006, and it never occurred to me as someone who left the country as a 3-year-old. It's never really considered at home. This town is home. I've been here since 1978, and it absolutely never crossed my mind that citizenship might be something that sticks to you in that way. But I guess I at least can vote in the New Zealand elections in September.
Do you think someone in the party perhaps they should pick up because the Constitution, that section is very clear.
Yeah.
It's a black and white area, so
It is.
disappointed. You'd think someone in the party may have done something like that.
This one's on me, Jessica. It really is. So when we get our nomination forms, and I've been through this 3 or 4 times now, it makes those kind of considerations very, very clear. So it's not really on anybody else to ensure that I've done my homework. That's on any candidate.
And how concerned are you that the Department of Finance has pursued other senators for salaries and allowances over
Yes.
the years when they have been declared invalid?
They have.
Are you worried that may happen to you? 9 years of salaries and allowances would be much.
It's a fair bit. Yes, the taxpayers will be devastated to discover that that's going to be millions of dollars. My total assets amount to a fast computer and some nice shoes. So we'll petition them if they come after us for the kind of relief that was offered to Senators Cullerton and Day.
Have you had any discussions with them in relation to that?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, our first priority really was making sure that the disclosure was made in a timely way and that we were clear about the legal and constitutional situation and that my staff will be looked after. And now, yes, this afternoon I'm writing to the Senate President. I spoke to him a short time ago, and we'll cross that hurdle if they come after me for $10 million. I guess we'll.
Is there precedent on this? I mean,
the very recent precedent is with Senators Day and Cullerton, I think, and as it turned out, the Special Minister of State waived that. I think, if that's my understanding is correct.
So your hope would be, of course, that they don't do that because I mean, as you're saying, you don't have the financial capacity to pay it back anyway.
That's right. Well, I'd rather not have that discussion in the media. We'll have that by correspondence, and I'm hoping that common sense prevails. I think if I'd known all along that this was the case and I'd just been sprung, maybe they would have a case, but this is as much of a surprise to me as it was to anybody else.
You took a break a while back, obviously, to sort of deal with some issues. I mean, how does this leave you having to deal with this in your future?
This is simpler than what happened last year. Yeah, I mean, this is a completely different circumstance, obviously. This is a constitutional oversight and something that I should have been aware of a long time before now.
You seem relatively positive about it. I'm not saying you have,
If I cry on TV, does that mean it'll leave? No, look, it's still, yeah, thanks. It's still settling in a little bit, to be honest. It's been an incredible run, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I think probably when it all goes quiet, or when they ring the bells on my colleagues in August and I'm not there, that's when it's really going to settle in.
And just on a more personal note, what do you see as your biggest achievements so far in your political career? And does this end your political career, or do you aim to come back to politics from that?
In terms of achievements, look, a lot of stuff happens that goes under the radar, and there are things that don't ever really break the media surface tension that I'm really proud of. But in terms of high-profile stuff, there's a freeway that isn't currently being smashed through that wetland at Belia, and that's something that I was really proud to be a part of. The country's not currently subjected to an internet filter, and that's a fight that we fought going back a couple of years. And we managed to get the threat of a radioactive waste dump off the shoulders of some old Aboriginal women in the Northern Territory, and I will, even if I'd done nothing else in the last 9 years, that would have made the whole thing worthwhile. And other achievements, I guess, collectively, I said when I first started in my inaugural speech, September 2008, that I wanted to be a part of the movement that turned the ship. And I know it can be hard to tell at times, but I feel like we are a part of doing that, and we have done that.
And is that it for you, or do you plan to make a comeback to politics one day? I mean,
too soon. I mean, never say never to anything, but no, too soon. This is a departure, not an announcement of a potential candidacy at some time into the future.
So I'm assuming the Greens will now hope that, as has happened in other instances, it will vote in the next slot on your ticket, but there's no guarantees, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
That's right. You happy to take that?
Of course, there's no guarantees, but looking at the precedences and looking at the numbers, that's what if the Court of Disputed Returns goes down that line, that's what we are expecting.
And that would make the next
Our number 3 would be in line then, which is Jordan Steele-John. Yeah. Okay.
And does this mean, that you were never elected, officially never a senator?
Technically, that's correct. We apparently have imagined the whole thing.
Can I also check what effect does, or any implications or effect does it have on any legislation that you've been involved in?
No, I think we've got rock solid recent precedent on that. They're not going to try and unwind the votes or anything like that.
Was it a journalist or somebody called opponent?
I don't believe so. I know that it wasn't a journalist, and I don't believe that it was a political opponent.
Our understanding the person is a very interested member of the community. It's neither a journalist or an opponent.
Can I also ask then, given that this law, I mean, it's the Constitution, it's Section 44, it's a pretty old thing.
Yeah.
We seem to have a lot of people being caught out for these sorts of issues where they declared invalid or ineligible candidates.
Yeah.
Is it time that, I mean, I know the Constitution's hard to change, but obviously, but do you think that it's time that perhaps we did look at changing this?
Look, my pick for changing the Constitution would probably be to make us a republic, but this particular section has been criticised for exactly those grounds. I think, like in the first instance, I don't come here to complain about our archaic Constitution. I think if you're a candidate, you do your due diligence or you pay the price. And yeah, in terms of constitutional renovation, I would like to see that be part of the job lot. Effectively, what it's telling us is that I'm owing allegiance to a foreign power, which is the sovereign of New Zealand, which is also the same Queen's crest that flies over this Parliament. So it's a little bit on the silly side, but it's also black letter law, and you can't kind of wriggle away from that.
I'm just curious. I mean, obviously, it would have been time when you would have ticked off boxes on paperwork in terms of becoming a senator.
Yes.
Over and over. Is there not that question? Do you own residency citizenship of another country?
I haven't had a close look at the nomination forms that we signed since this all blew up. But yeah, every time you nominate for a federal parliamentary candidacy, you declaim that you don't owe allegiance to a foreign power. You're not presently a citizen of another country. So yes, that's three or four times that will have occurred.
And the problem is that it's because we can have dual citizenship. If it was a country where you couldn't have dual citizenship,
it would be pretty crystal clear. That's right. Yeah.
So there's cases for different senators being declared ineligible for other reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
Is there a precedent for exactly your case in terms of what's happened over length of time, or are you going to be going down in history as the first senator that wasn't a senator for 9 years?
Thanks, Jessica.
No,
I appreciate
but, I mean,
it.
you know what I mean. People at home will be.
I believe that's the case.
And smuggling and struggling with that.
Yep. As am I. But I think that's the case. I don't think there's a case that I'm aware of in the research that we did in the last week or so that anybody has had that oversight lie dormant for that period of time.
As an Australian as well, one day, if you really loved your job, you really wanted to continue in the party, really wanted to continue, why don't you just relinquish your New Zealand citizenship and seek forgiveness?
It's not so much about forgiveness, it's that I'd need to seek re-election. And as I said to the earlier question, that's way too soon. I do love the job, and I've loved serving in this Parliament and working with the amazing people that we've been able to work with. It's absolutely irreplaceable. In case any of you are considering giving it a go, I strongly encourage it. There's nothing else like it in the world. But there's also no avoiding the Constitution under which this whole show is set up.
What's going to happen with the transition in the Greens team? We're going to leave a fairly large hole.
It's a one-person sized hole. And so I didn't check our party room rules before I came out. At some point, party room will reconvene and they'll select another deputy leader.
Will you still be in a supporting role there? I mean, you've been running that policy for an extended period of time.
You couldn't stop me. But I won't be physically present in the party room or in the Parliament. And to be honest, there's elements of that, of the parliamentary work that I won't miss. That stuff's well on its way to resolution. It was more that the job is fairly uncompromising, and there's, you don't get a lot of time for rest. So, but no, I'm not looking at making any kind of immediate political comeback. I think for the time being, we're in pretty safe hands with the federal Greens team.
Is there any? Sorry, may I ask this?
That's okay. I've given that no thought whatsoever. That's up to Rach and the colleagues.
It's up to the party room.
That's something I don't have to worry about.
So despite the way that it's finished, you are still very proud of what you've been able to achieve and what you've done so far?
Yeah, I am. And it's not the way that I would have chosen to wind up, but I'm really proud of the role that we're playing collectively in the Australian political space. It's not always easy. And I feel like I've been able to make a contribution.
We appear to have lost that link again
98,
from
just
Perth.
as an activist without much of a political sense of the world, to being able to address the United Nations plenary last week, just before they signed off on a global nuclear weapons ban. It's been quite a ride, and I will absolutely miss that.
And there must be, I mean, there's another human which is all of the staff, presumably,
Yep.
those jobs as well. That must also
Yeah.
cause you some distress.
It's a huge shock. So what will happen, as I understand it, is that the office and the staff entitlements will stay intact until a new senator is chosen through one of the methods that Senator Siewert outlined, and that could take a couple of months to wash through. All right, thank you so much all, and we'll see you in the next life.
Thanks very much.